Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, today inshallah we are going to discuss the female reproductive system, which is part of module 207. As you know that the female genital system is formed of primary sex organ, which is the ovary. It's a mixed gland. Endocrine secrete estrogen and progesterone. Exocrine secrete the ova or the oocyte. Then the secondary sexual organs, we have two fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, external genitalia, and two mammary glands. As you can see here, dear students, this is the ovary. It's formed of outer cortex containing different ovarian follicles and inner medulla. The inner medulla, located in the center portion of the ovary, formed of highly vascular loose connective tissue. Here is the outer cortex, higher magnification. You can see it contain many ovarian follicle at different rate of maturation, and here is the medulla, and these are the blood vessels. Look here, dear students, this is section in the ovary. I can see here the germinal epithelium. It's formed of simple cuboidal epithelium that transport to flat while we increase in age. This term is wrong. This is not the germinal. It is not the source of female gamete, just called the germinal epithelium. Under the germinal epithelium, there is the tunica albuginea, which is white fibrous connective tissue located between the germinal epithelium and the underlying cortex. Here, the outer cortex is formed of highly cellular connective tissue and different types of ovarian follicles. You can see here primordial follicle, and primary follicle, and I'm going to tell you the difference now. First, the primordial follicle, located under the tunica albuginea, is formed of primary oocyte surrounded with one layer of follicular cell, which is squamous flat cell with flat nuclei. So the primordial containing primary oocyte surrounded with single layer of follicular cell, flat cell with flat nuclei. At puberty, many primordial follicle each month under the effect of follicular stimulating hormone stimulate the growth of some primordial follicle. First, it will change into unilaminar primary follicle. The oocyte increase in size. Okay, it appears central with vesicular nuclei and surrounded with one layer of cuboidal follicular cell with rounded nuclei. Unilaminar primary follicle. More FSH, the unilaminar changed into multilaminar. Primary oocyte increase in size. The follicular cell undergo mitosis, so it becomes stratified epithelium called the granulosa cells, and start of the appearance of the zona pellucida, which secreted by the oocyte and the granulosa cells. And the connective tissue around the multilaminar primary will form something called theca folliculi. Again, multilaminar primary. Primary oocyte increase in size. The granulosa cells increase, become many layer, stratified layer. The follicular cell changed into granulosa layer. Appearance of the zona pellucida between the primary oocyte and the granulosa cell. Connective tissue around the follicle become known as theca follicular. More FSH secretion. The multilaminar will change into secondary follicle or antral. What do I mean by antral? The granulosa cells start to secrete fluid called liquor follicula. Okay? And they coalesce together to form something like a crescent called the antrum. The primary oocyte increase more in size, and here is the zona pellucida, and the theca will differentiate into theca interna and theca externa. More FSH. Here is the secondary. You can see here in this photo the granulosa cells secrete the liquor. Here the liquor present in the form of a crescent. This is one liquor and this is another one, and this is the primary oocyte. All of them is known as secondary. More FSH, more release of follicular stimulating hormone. The secondary follicle changed into mature Graafian follicle. Here is the primary oocyte that just before ovulation changed into secondary oocyte, surrounded with the zona pellucida, then the corona radiata, which is granulosa cells acquiring columnar appearance, then the cumulus oophorus connecting the oocyte with the granulosa cells, then 3 to 4 layers of granulosa cells resting on the basement membrane, and then we have theca interna and theca externa. Please look here at the theca interna. It appears vacuolated as stretched in lipid droplets as it secretes androgen that changed by the granulosa that changed into estrogen by the aromatase enzyme. Then we have the theca externa and we have the fenestrated blood capillaries. We have the theca interna secreting the androgen containing in a fenestrated blood capillary. Then we have the theca externa. Again, dear students, look please. 1. The oocyte, primary oocyte. 2. Zona pellucida. 3. Corona radiata. 4. Cumulus oophorus. 5. Granulosa cell resting on a basement membrane. Then we have theca interna and theca externa. Number 8 is the antrum. Again, here is the oocyte, zona pellucida, corona radiata, cumulus oophorus, theca interna, and theca externa. Look here, dear students, at the theca. The cells are polyhedral, vacuolated, separated by fenestrated blood capillaries. Here is the fallopian tube. Here is the fallopian tube. Small, rounded structure with lumen. Small, rounded structure with lumen. Okay? The lumen is highly folded. The lumen is highly folded, lined by simple columnar, partially ciliated cell. The cilia, peats, toward the uterus, and the non-ciliated known as the bag cell. They are secretory cell. They are secretory cell, provide nutrition to the ovum. Okay, so this is the mucosa. Then we have the musculosa, arranged as inner circular and outer longitudinal and play important role in peristalsis. Then we have the serosa. Mucosa, musculosa, and serosa. The mucosa highly folded, lined with simple columnar, partially ciliated. The muscle layer very thin, formed of inner circular, outer longitudinal, and then the serosa. Again, dear students, this is the fallopian tube, small rounded structure with lumen. Please here, dear students, for microscopic structure, we have criteria to the small rounded structure with lumen. We have fallopian tube, ureter, and the vas deferens present in the spermatic cord. Okay? What's important? I should look to the folds, highly folded fallopian tube, star or cross is the ureter, and less folded or oval the vas deferens. The muscle layer is more in the vas than ureter than the smallest is the fallopian tube. The lining epithelium of the fallopian tube simple columnar, the ureter transitional epithelium, while the vas deferens pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, this is important to distinguish between the small round structure with human, and I discussed them in the revision of the microscopic slides. Here is the folded mucosa, and this is the epithelium, simple columnar, partially ciliated cells. This is the mucosal folds. Here is the uterus. Here the uterus is formed of large round structure with lumen. The lumen is very narrow lumen, okay, formed of mucosa known as endometrium, musculosa known as myometrium, serosa known as perimetrium. What is characteristic here in the endometrium is the lining epithelium, which is simple columnar, partially ciliated, okay, and there are endometrial glands, which is simple tubular gland, endometrial glands. Okay, the endometrium is going to be divided into functional zone, which is the superficial part of the endometrium containing a surface epithelium lamina propria, and this is supplied by the spiral arteries. This part, or the functional zone or the superficial zone, undergo marked changes during menstrual cycle and regenerated from the basal zone, which is formed of the basal part of the deep part of the endometrium near the myometrium, containing deeper part of the connective tissue corium and the basal part of the endometrial gland, supplied with the straight arteries, and they are unchanged. They are the reserve for the endometrium. Then we have the myometrium. The first layer is stratum submucosum, then stratum vascular, then stratum supravascular. Okay, the stratum vascular, you can see here many large blood vessels, and this layer, the muscle arranged as inner circular and oblique, forming the number 8, forming here as if number 8, containing blood vessels here. When contract, they obstruct the blood vessel, help to avoid bleeding after labor. Here is the endometrium. You should say whether under, in the data show slide, not under the microscope, you should say whether it is proliferative or secretory. This is proliferative. Why? You can see here the endometrial glands are straight, okay? The endometrial glands here are straight. Look here, dear students, it becomes tortuous. The endometrial glands here become tortuous, okay, and full of secretion. So here is the luteal phase. Here is the vagina, large rounded structure with lumen. Here the lining epithelium, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. We said this epithelium before, where in the esophagus. So if I see this epithelium, there are 3 slides: esophagus dog, esophagus cat, and vagina. Okay, if I see gland in the submucosa, it is esophagus dog. If I see very well developed muscularis mucosa, it's esophagus cat. If I see nothing, it's vagina. The vagina is formed of mucosa, musculosa, and adventitia. Mucosa, musculosa, and adventitia. The muscle layer, inner circular, outer longitude, and the adventitia dense, containing many elastic fibers. Again, dear students, Non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Number 1 is the mucosa, 2 the lining epithelium, 3 the muscle layer, then 4 is the adventitia. Here is the placenta. The placenta. You know, dear students, that the placenta is a temporary endocrine organ formed by two participants. The maternal part called the decidua bisalis, and the fetal part is called the chorionic villi. All these are chorionic villi. They are finger-like projection. They are finger-like projection. When I cut a TS, appears like this. Appears like this. Okay. The chorionic villi consist of a center core of connective tissue containing blood vessels and cells known as phagocytic cell, known as half-power cell. Then the lining is called the trophoblast. This lining is called trophoblast. We have two layers. Inner cytotrophoblast, and not present here because it disappears at the end of the 4th week, and this is late placenta. And the syncytiotrophoblast, which deeply stain cytoplasm and persists throughout the gestation. Late placenta. 1 blood vessel, 2 syncytiotrophoblast, 3 chorionic villi, and 4 the intervellus tissue of the mother. Again, dear students, this is placenta. This is the chorionic villi, and these are the syncytiotrophoblast, and this is the fetal circulation here, and this is the maternal part. Okay. Here is the resting mammary gland. Resting mammary gland. Here is lobule. There is interlobular tissue, connective tissue, and here are the intralobular ducts, intralobular and interlobular ducts. If it is lactating mammary gland, you can see acini containing milk. You can see acini containing milk. As you see, this is the lobule, formed mainly of acini containing milk. The connective tissue is reduced. Again, dear students, this is resting and this is lactating mammary gland. From where you know connective tissue septa here is more, here is less, here containing the alveoli or the acini containing the milk. Now we have the exam trial test. Okay, identify the organ. It's ovary. I can see primordial follicle, and I can see what is this secondary follicle. Name the cell pointed by arrow arrow 1. It is the granulosa cells present in a follicle known as secondary. Why it's secondary? Because I can see many cavities containing fluid, not one. Why it is not multilaminar primary? I can see fluid. Why it is not mature? Because many cavities. The mature, only one cavity. Arrow 2 points to primordial follicle. Why? Surrounded with follicular cell, flat cell with flat nuclei. What is this? Here is the ovary. This is primordial. Why? Primary oocyte surrounded with one flat layer of flat cells with flat nuclei. And the red arrow is unilaminar primary follicle. The oocyte increase in size and surrounded with cuboidal cell with central rounded nuclei. Here is the mature Graafian follicle. The yellow star is the primary oocyte. The green star is the antrum. The yellow star is the zona pellucida, while the red is the corona radiata. And this is the cumulus, and this is granulosa cells, the blue arrows. The red line is the theca folliculi. Okay, dear students, this section in the ovary. What is this? I can see primary oocyte and many layers of cells. Do I see fluid? No. So it is multilaminar primary. Multilaminar primary. The blue star is the stroma and the red arrow is the zona pellucida. Excuse me, here it's ovary. You can see here the germinal epithelium, the blue arrow. Under it is the tunica albuginea. A here is the primordial follicle and B is the unilaminar primary follicle. Okay. The red star is the stroma. Here, dear students, is the corpus luteum, but it's okay. You do not have its label, the corpus luteum after ovulation. What stay inside the ovary is the granulosa cells, theca interna and theca externa. Here, dear students, identify the organ, the ovary. I can see here an follicle. This follicle is multilaminar, primary, many layers, so it is multi, no fluid, so it is not secondary. O is the primary oocyte. The red arrow is the zona pellucida, and the blue arrow is the granulosa cells, and the yellow arrow is the theca folliculi. Here, dear students, is ovarian follicle. The organ is ovary, ovarian follicle. What type? Many layers. So it will be what? Secondary or multilaminar primary? Secondary. Why? Because I'm having liquor fluid here, many cavities. Okay, so 1 is the antrum, 2 is the granulosa cells, 3 is the primary oocyte, 4 is the zona pellucida. Here is the ovary, and this is mature Graafian follicle. Okay, O, primary oocyte, Z, zona pellucida, CR, corona radiata, CO, cumulus oophorus, G, granulosa cells, T, theca interna or theca externa. Here is fallopian tube, small round structure with lumen, highly folded mucosa. Highly folded mucosa. The star is the lumen. The layer 1 is the mucosa, 2 the musculosa, and 3 the serosa. Again, dear students, please look here at this slide. This is very important. I'm having 3 small rounded structure with lumen. If I'm having highly folded or cross or oval. Here, number 1, fallopian, number 2, ureter, number 3, vase. Look at the lining epithelium. If it is simple columnar, it is fallopian. If it's transitional many rounded nuclei, it is transitional, so it's ureter. 2, it is vas deferens. Then please look at the muscle. Thin muscle layer, fallopian, moderate, ureter, very large, vas deferens. Here, part of the fallopian tube, highly folded mucosa. Highly folded mucosa. The red line, the mucosa, the blue is the musculosa. The epithelium, simple columnar, partially ciliated. Simple columnar, partially ciliated. What is this? Large round structure with lumen, and the lumen is narrow. The red line, so it is uterus. The red line is the endometrium. The blue line is the myometrium. Look at the endometrium, dear students. What are these? These are the endometrial glands. Okay, here, as I told you, this is a stratum vasculaire containing many blood vessels, and the yellow arrow is the perimetrium. Again, dear students, large round structure with lumen. First, the lumen is narrow. Second, the lining epithelium simple columnar. Third, I'm having uterine endometrial glands. I'm having endometrial glands. Okay, number 2 is the muscle layer. Number 2 is the muscle layer, myometrium. Look here, number 4 is the blood vessels which present in the muscle layer, which is known as stratum vasculaire. Here it's very important to say I am in what zone. This is what it is, the endometrium of the uterus. The red arrow points to the uterine glands, and the star is the lamina propria. What phase? Secretory. Why? Look at the gland. Look at the gland. Tortuous. What is this? It's vagina. It's vagina. Lining epithelium, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The red arrow. The red line is the mucosa. The blue line is the musculosa, and the blue star is the adventitia. Dear students, is a section in a round structure with the lumen. I can see part of it lined with non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. I'm going to think of esophagus, dog, cat, and vagina. This is vagina. Why? Because between the epithelium and the muscle, I cannot find glands, and I cannot find submucosa or muscularis, a very well developed muscularis mucosa. I can see only the mucosa, which is the black line, number 1. Number 2 is the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The red arrow here is the lamina propria. Number 3 is the smooth muscle, and number 4 is the adventitia. Here, dear students, I can see the placenta. What type of placenta, early or late? Late. Why? Because I can see only the syncytial trophoblast. The red circle around the chorionic villi, the green star is the maternal blood, and the yellow arrow is the syncytial trophoblast. Again, dear students, this is a chorionic villi. Okay, this is the syncytial trophoblast. This is the blood of the fetus, and this is the chorionic villi. Again, this is late placenta. The blue line traverses the chorionic villi. Cell pointed by the blue arrow is the syncytial trophoblast, while the red arrow is the half-power cell. The green arrow points to the fetal circulation, fetal blood vessel, while the black arrow points to the maternal blood. Here, dear students, this is mammary gland. This is mammary gland. This not why this is non-lactating, because the connective tissue is more, and this is adipose tissue. The yellow arrow are the lactiferous ducts. The blue star is the thick connective tissue septa, and the green arrow is the fat cell which present in the connective tissue septa, denoting that this is non-lactating. Dear students, is lactating mammary gland. Why? Connective tissue septa is less, and the alveoli or the acini containing acidophilic material, which is the milk. So identify the organ lactating mammary gland. Yellow star points to the trabeculae of connective tissue trabeculae, which is thin. The green arrow points to the alveoli containing milk. Okay, this organ is in lactating state. Give two reasons. We have acini containing milk and thin trabeculae. Here, dear students, is lactating mammary gland again. From where you know this is the acini or the alveoli, and this is the milk appears acidophilic and vacuolated. Okay, dear students, can anyone tell me this could be mistaken for what? It could be mistaken for the thyroid gland. Okay, why this is not thyroid gland? Because the content here is vacuolated and pale acidophilic, not as that of the colloid. Okay. Identify the organ lactating mammary gland. The blue circles are the acini or the alveoli containing milk. The yellow arrow is the milk secretion, and the black arrow is the thin trabeculae. Students, the labels. Here, dear students, the last section, lactating mammary gland, structure covered by skin. Okay, here is the hair follicle, sebaceous gland. Here are the acini lined with simple columnar epithelium surrounded with myoepithelial cell that contract to release the milk. Here is the milk appears vacuolated due to its rich in fat, and this is thin connective tissue trabeculae. Dear students, about structures covered with skin, we have lip eyelid, and we have mammary gland and penis. Structures covered by skin. Thank you, dear students.